Welcome back. This time we're talking about Star Wars: The Last Jedi, the 8th film in the Star Wars saga, and the 9th overall Star Wars film, including Rogue One. Now, before we get any further, let me say this review will be spoiler-free. I will have a spoiler-filled review coming up after this one, but for now, you can rest assured that this video will not include spoilers for The Last Jedi. The Last Jedi was written and directed by Rian Johnson, who takes over for J.J. Abrams, who directed The Force Awakens. And I have to say, it took me some time to narrow down my impressions of this movie. Not only because it is a really long movie, it's the longest Star Wars film to date at 2.5 hours, and it packs a lot of story into those 2.5 hours. Now let me say up front, I was not a big fan of The Force Awakens. I thought it looked great, I thought it was very well acted, I loved the amount of practical effects in it, I thought J.J. Abrams did a solid job directing the film. From a story perspective, however, I considered it a significantly flawed movie on a number of levels, which I'm not going to get into in this review because this is about The Last Jedi. But I did want to mention that because I went into The Last Jedi probably more hesitant than a lot of others who really enjoyed The Force Awakens. I was very willing to give it its due and hope for the best. And once again, I found The Last Jedi to be extremely well directed. I thought Rian Johnson did a great job producing this film. It looks great. The acting is once again very solid, both from the newer characters as well as our returning ones from the original saga. But also, this is once again a film that has some significant problems on the story side. And obviously it's going to be really hard to talk about these without spoilers, so I'm going to stay as vague as possible. One of the film's biggest problems is its middle act. There's a particular storyline involving a number of the main characters that really ends up feeling unnecessary and ultimately doesn't put a lot of the characters in the best light. I don't want to get any more specific than that. But it really felt like just about all of that could have been cut. It would have trimmed the film's overall runtime by about a half an hour and really improved the overall film. There's a lot of other smaller issues that I had throughout. I don't think this film pays off all of the various plot points that The Force Awakens sort of left open at the end of that film. And really, it kind of feels very disconnected as far as The Force Awakens was written and directed by one group of people, and then this film was written and directed by another person. Story-wise, essentially this does, as many assumed, picks up pretty much immediately after the end of The Force Awakens. Rey has found Luke, and the Resistance has destroyed Starkiller Base, and the First Order is out for revenge. That's essentially how this film picks up, and that's pretty much all I'm going to tell you about the plot. But despite the fact that this film is the first Star Wars film to pick up immediately after the end of the previous one, it felt the most disconnected from its immediate predecessor as far as I was concerned. It felt like certain plot points were set up in The Force Awakens with certain ideas in mind, and this film goes in different directions. A lot has been made about the fact that this is it does have the courage to go in different directions, and that I'm not complaining about. I'm just saying from the actual plot points, the plot that we get in this movie, it just felt disconnected from what we got in the previous one. Again, trying to be as vague as possible, this is probably the best way I can sort of sum up my feelings on The Last Jedi. As I said, I was not a huge fan of The Force Awakens. I had serious problems from the first time I saw it. It wasn't like there was a long honeymoon period for me with that film. The problems I had are the problems that I had from the beginning. But it was still a movie I wanted to go see again. I'm fairly certain I ended up going to see it 3 times in theaters. Rogue One, a film that I love much better than either of these two films. I think I saw it in theaters 5 times. So far, after seeing The Last Jedi, I am not feeling a huge urge to go see it again. Obviously, if you're a Star Wars fan, go see it. There's a lot to like. I can't go into that any more than I can go into my major problems with it, at least until I get to my spoiler-filled review, which I'll be filming immediately after this one. So I'm going to wrap this up here. That hopefully will give you an idea of where my thoughts are on this movie. Overall, I think I would rank it slightly higher than The Force Awakens, but I obviously had a lower view of that film than most. It's still a solid Star Wars film, just a very flawed one. And I'm beginning to actually have some serious concerns on what's going to happen with Episode 9. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to you. If you've seen The Last Jedi, what did you think about it? And where would you rank it amongst the Star Wars films? I also do plan to do a ranking of the entire franchise, all 9 films that have been released so far. Hopefully that will be up shortly as well. Until next time, though, you subscribe to my channel. You can click the little bell button to get notifications of new videos. You can check out some of my other reviews. And until next time, I'll see you at the movies.